So, Darkstalkers, particularly Darkstalkers 3, was a game I played way back in the mid to late 2000s. Let's just say 2005 to give a good basis. It was then I was reliving the old days of very old fighting games such as Street Fighter 2, the older Tekkens, and a lot of Fatal Fury and King of Fighters sprinkled within that. Now I definitely can't say I'm actually any good at Darkstalkers, nor do I know the history of how the game came to be or anything like that outside of YouTube videos, but I can say there was a character that really grabbed me even from when I was a kid, and that would be Lilith Aensland. Now, Darkstalkers has a very diverse and out there cast, and Morgan and Felicia are definitely the standout characters for both being hot and easily recognizable, and those are designs that will really stick with you even after you stop playing the games themselves. Now, while not two Darkstalker characters look alike, there's the case with Morgan and Lilith. Lilith is shorter, she has like no boobs to speak of, and doesn't even get half the focus that someone like Morgan gets, but despite that, Lilith has remained a very popular character with a lot of fan art and fans out there, myself included. Now, I can't exactly pinpoint on how Lilith is a fan favorite character because everyone has their own opinions about something like this, but I can talk about why she's my personal favorite Darkstalkers character, if not one of my favorite characters in anything ever, and people will definitely know that from just looking at my Twitter account alone. Now, let's start with Lilith's design and question, which is one of the things I love about her. Personally, to me, Lilith's design and colors pop out more, and her color scheme of red and blue really works well to keep her distinct from Morgan. Plus, her purple short hair just looks really good on her, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise. Now, Morgan, being who she is, was designed to be absolutely sexy. That's the whole point of her character, being a succubus and all. And for being very sexy and well designed, Morgan has stood the test of time far longer than any other Darkstalkers character out there. But then again, she is the face of the series, which is why we see Morgan so often. But hell, you never hear anyone complain about Morgan. Honestly, I have never heard a single complaint about Morgan in regards to her character, her design, her role in Darkstalkers. I haven't heard anyone complain about her at all. So you can tell how many people actually like Morgan and find her distinct. Lilith, however, takes the sexy angle and strips it away. She pretty much has a cuter angle. She kind of opts for the cuter side of this whole thing. Like, succubus have like these youthful, like cute or very beautiful faces, and they kind of lure men in through that way. And I personally think that this whole idea of just not being so actively sexy, but more of a cute thing to lure people in, it works really well with Lilith's case. Hell, even the costumes that Lilith has when she transforms into various other outfits, they're favorites of mine compared to what Morgan wears, which is actually saying something. She has a much more youthful, upbeat side to her than Morgan, and I like that about Lilith. She generally seems like a fun character to hang out with, and I personally believe if a character's fun to hang out with, I like that kind of character. That's the kind of character that I will gravitate myself towards. If the character's, has this cheerful, upbeat side, and you just feel like you're welcomed in their presence, that's what I like. But this is Darkstalkers we're talking about here. Everything scares the hell out of me. You got characters running around all over the place who are completely insane, and that includes Lilith. So I guess I would say Lilith is a character I would want to hang out with, but just barely. Now on to Lilith's actual story within Darkstalkers, which is actually really sad to me, but also very interesting. You see, Morgan was born as one of the most unique succubi in all of Darkstalkers, being a noble, though she had no idea how to control her powers at the time, and would pretty much wreck shit if she didn't grasp them. So, her father, Belial Aensland, split her soul into 3 halves, with one of those halves being sealed off in another dimension of sorts. That split off half, now being known as Lilith Aensland, began to learn about things around her, gain her own individuality and a longing to quote-unquote return home, meaning that she wanted to return back to Morgan. Now Jeddah comes into the picture, and later came in contact with this split-off soul, Lilith, and then create a new body for her so she can exist physically. and in turn, she acts as Jetta's quote-unquote partner to lure the other Darkstalkers to him for his master plan. Now, being with her own body, Lilith was having a grand old time, finally being free, but at the same time, this sense of longing to return back to Morgan never left her, and it turned out that the body Jetta made for Lilith was only temporary, meaning that if she could not return back to being a part of Morgan, her existence would just instantly vanish. Now, depending on the ending, Lilith will always return to Morgan, but in different ways. In Morgan's ending, she will return to Morgan, Lilith will return, but Morgan has like this more upbeat side to her. She has a new outlook on life, more clarity, and I find it, kind of funny to me, you have this part of yourself that was lost for so long, and then when it finally came back, you just remember things. Like, I guess I could say it's like Lilith was Morgan's youth that was stripped away from her as a child. And how Morgan acts kind of childish at times, but she's not like a total child. Well, I feel like Lilith's represents Morgan's innocent side. And then when she's brought back, she's gained some of that innocence back. At least that's what I think. That's my way of looking at the ending for Morgan. But in Lilith's ending, she still fuses back with Morgan, but it isn't as easy, as Morgan's ending pretty much has Lilith fade away from existence within Morgan. It is implied that Lilith is in there, so it isn't as bad. It's not like her Morgan, like the Morgan ending where it's like a total fusion. Lilith kind of just goes inside Morgan and essentially fades away, but it's still implied that Lilith is in there somewhere, somehow, and in some form. But even so, I always found it sad that Lilith couldn't stay her own endings, as she was originally part of Morgan. She had to return back to Morgan, which she literally had to, or she would just fade away entirely. And it's sad to me, considering how little time she got to spend as her own person. Now, in other games, Lilith can manifest outside of Morgan, and I believe Lilith can freely exist outside of Morgan, due to already fusing back with her. And other Capcom games and media that feature Lilith post-Darkstalkers 3 kind of treat her that way. They try to treat her like, yeah, Lilith can still exist outside of Morgan. She still can do things outside of Morgan just to keep them two together. But as of Darkstalkers 3, canonically Darkstalkers 3, the most current of Darkstalkers games, Lilith is seemingly part of Morgan, and that's where the story kind of ends on that note. Now, Lilith hasn't appeared in much Capcom media, and Darkstalkers hasn't received a new game outside of re-releases of 3, such as Darkstalkers Chronicle the Chaos Tower for the PSP, and Darkstalkers Resurrection, which is a real release of 1 and 3. But she has appeared in media, and I will go over at least some of them in this video. Now, originally in Darkstalkers, when Morgan would use her Darkness Illusion move, she would essentially summon a second clone of herself to do the other hits. But after Darkstalkers 3, In the games where Morgan does her Darkness Illusion move, Lilith comes in and takes the place of Morgan's second clone, which I always found pretty interesting. They can attack together, which I like. Plus, Lilith is just the cutest. I mean, look at her. Lilith even appears in other games such as Onimusha Soul, Cross Edge, among other small Capcom-related works as well. Plus, I really dig the Onimusha Soul outfits for Lilith. They look really good, like, really good. There are some that I haven't included on here, which are just variants of her outfits already, but the ones I'm showing above are really good looking. This is literal art I want on my wall. And like most other Capcom characters, Lilith also appears in the Udon comics, but she and Morgan kind of both suffer in the comics character-wise. They pretty much have their quote-unquote monster succubus qualities dialed up to 11 and aren't what people liked about them. They kind of bastardize what made Lilith and Morgan unique from others, similar succubus kind of characters. And that really sucks because, again, Lilith is my favorite Capcom-related character, and the fact that her character is pretty bastardized in the comics sucks. But you know what? At least the art is good, and at least for all that's worth, the art is actually good. There was also a manga known as Vampire Savior: The Soul's Lost Child that was written and drawn by Mayumi Azuma and published in Enix's monthly Shonen Gangan. It had ran for 5 volumes with a total of 24 chapters. Lilith is the main focus of this manga, where she meets a young man named John Stately after she crash lands into his house upon escaping Jeddah and his own plans. John becomes friends with Lilith and allows her to stay to the point that both Lilith and John fall for each other. It is nice to see side material that Lilith has to herself, and I honestly would have loved it if Lilith had more material that focused on her. The manga is pretty overall decent, and I might make a review on the manga someday later down the line, but I just wanted to mention that this was side material focused solely on Lilith herself. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about Lilith. There's not much to say about her in general, but I really did want to talk about Lilith and why I dig her so much compared to the other Darkstalkers characters. And if Capcom ever decided to make a Marvel vs. Capcom 4 or a Marvel or a Darkstalkers 4, if that was a timeline we lived in, I would definitely hope they can bring Lilith in somehow and do something with her, because I definitely want to see more of Lilith, because I like her. I like her. I definitely want to see her up there with the other characters for something for her to do. But yeah, that's all I gotta say, everyone. I'll see you all next time. Peace, everyone. I gotta go. Goodbye.